Learning about our bodies used to entail seeing the physician and reading books. Today, the resources to learn about health and healing goes far beyond the exam rooms. Bloggers, podcasts, telemedicine, and retreats are all a newer way and forums in which individuals and communities can procure information on medicine and wellness. Have you thought about what is the best way to learn about your body, to seek information that is safe, science-based, and compassionately delivered? Welcome to Gynocurious. I am your host and creator, Dr. Amy Novatt. From both sides of the speculum, we are here to investigate what it means to be a healer and to be healed. Please send your comments to comments@radiofreerhinecliffe.org. Share the show. Give us 5 stars. Please leave comments. It really, really helps Gynocurious and Radio Free Rhinecliff. So today's guests are not only colleagues, but friends. I've known these two clinicians for a very long time. Over the years, these women have done amazing and important work. I've watched and admired them for their professional expertise and warm manners as they have cared for women across the globe. I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Rachel Masch and Dr. Laura MacIsaac. Laura and Rachel have worked together for, I think, over 2 decades now. You'll correct
Spilling
me
your
if I'm wrong.
secrets. You're spilling
Rachel's been on the show before, but to remind you, Rachel Masch is a board-certified OBGYN and a specialist in complex family planning and the fellowship director of complex family planning at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. She's also the chief medical officer of Basic Health International, a nonprofit organization with a mission to eliminate cervical cancer globally. Dr. Laura MacIsaac also joins us today, and she is a Menopause Society certified practitioner, as well as board certified in general OBGYN and complex family planning. Laura's work also includes developing a women's reproductive health initiative at Soft Power Health, a primary care clinic in rural Uganda. Both Laura and Rachel have held leadership roles both in New York State and nationally. Welcome, Laura and Rachel.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Thanks, Amy. Nice to be here.
So nice to see you both. So today's episode of Gynocurious is a bit different than other episodes I have taped. We're here today to enthusiastically and unapologetically tell you about a retreat that the three of us are hosting. The Art of Pausing on March 28th through 30th is a retreat that focuses on the physiology of the peri and postmenopause, the medical conditions that arise as we transition during this hormonally volatile time, and ways in which to be healthy and strong while these changes are occurring. So the three of us will be gathering again for the retreat at Mama Farm in Brookhaven, Long Island, the farm founded by Isabella Rossellini. Mama Farm is a regenerative farm that focuses on heritage breeds and heirloom seeds. Their mission is to promote conservation and biodiversity through varied offerings and programming. Mama Farm endeavors to preserve and celebrate the heritage of their local environment and Mother Nature herself. Mama Farm has also become a resource for women-centered retreats. So let's just start with just talking about what your current work entails before we speak about the retreat. Laura, you want to start? What are you doing these days?
Sure.
Other than the retreat?
Yeah. I am sort of moving from a full-time academic environment to sort of a few different and more creative ways to do gynecology, which has been really awesome. So I still work in the academic environment at Mount Sinai as a gynecologist focusing in complex family planning. That's where Rachel and I are still partners. And in addition, I work for Maven, the largest telemedicine platform for women's health globally. So that's really kind of upskilled my virtual connection to women and their journeys, really different from being in the office. And then my global health work, which involves both going to this beautiful place in Uganda and teaching contraception, menopause, all sorts of gynecologic and women's health preventive interventions. So those are my 3 kind of outputs these days.
Great. Rachel?
So I remain in the academic medical field. I am also a complex family planning specialist and have become the fellowship director for that at Mount Sinai Medical Center. So that takes up some of my time, but it's a real joy to teach the next generation and try and ensure capacity, capability of these services, of these incredibly important and life-saving procedures. I also work globally, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer, as Amy said, for Basic Health International, which is a nonprofit with a mission to eliminate cervical cancer globally. We do a lot of research and implementation work around the globe, focusing initially in Central America, but have now expanded to other continents and are looking forward to trying to meet the World Health Organization goal of elimination of cervical cancer by 2030. We have work to do, and it's work to do.
Rachel.
Not much time, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're going for it.
Great. Well, I love how both of you are, working in a very local and very global way. And I'm also curious. I know that, when I was a girl and my parents' friends who happened to be doctors, they kind of worked in the office or worked in the academic setting, either until they got infirmed or died. That was just what you did. And yet the three of us are clearly, shifting a little bit, pivoting a little bit. And this retreat, at least for me, represents a kind of a newer way in which to deliver healthcare, advice, build community, as is Gynocurious. It's an expansion of what I have done in the office setting for, over 2 decades. Do you think that this shift, this pivoting is kind of unique to this time? Do you think it's a response to what's happened in medicine? Can we speak a little bit about that? Because people might be listening and saying, why are these, 3 experts shifting as they are? Why aren't they staying and doing the work they've done all along?
Well, I think I can take a stab at that first. I went to a medical school reunion relatively recently and was surprised. I was going to say shocked, but I would say more surprised that almost everyone in my class was thinking about what's next. And I think that we have been at this now for a while and have gotten to be comfortable doing what we're doing and are seeking another challenge and a way to try and make our worlds and our expertise more accessible. And so everyone was like, I'm ready to pivot. I'm ready to do the next thing. And I think it may be where we are in our careers, and that the how fun it is to accept a new challenge and to try and figure out how you can make your information accessible to as many people as possible, to help as many people as possible. So I think that is something that is not necessarily unique to the three of us.
Yeah. Laura?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Amy. I would, thinking it through that, for me, I think it's been sort of a dovetail of 2 forces. And one is sort of piggybacking on what Rachel said, that when you sort of feel like your comfort in the operating room and in the office and teaching the next generation and sort of operational management, once you have done that for a while, you really want a new challenge. So that's more, sort of almost a selfish goal there. But also, as I think you've even had an episode on this, Amy, and it's really everywhere we read, how different medicine has become, and that it is so challenging to meet women's needs in the structures that are getting so heavy, and our creativity and flexibility to sort of meet our patients where they are and fulfill their needs, other than the operating room, maybe, has just gotten, it's suffocating to try to, show up in the way that people need in the structures that are imposed on healthcare today. So that's kind of one. But then the other force was, I think that for me personally, so many other experiences of life, like having parents die, having children grow up, having friends and colleagues go through life's curveballs and sort of walking through those with people that you love and care about and maybe have some extra responsibility to because of your medical expertise, it has changed like how I want to interact with people around their healthcare needs and their wellness instead of the disease model in the US, but more about like moving back and how to keep people healthy. So I think the arc of my own life has changed me so much that I'm not satisfied with the 10-minute encounter that we're allowed in the office. So sort of my own changes of experiential care being so much more important. And then also the limitations of how we deliver care in our current structure. So those kind of things met. And I was like, we have to do something different. So the telemedicine, the retreats, maybe Rachel and I are going to work on our global health, collaborate there. So it's just ways to get in deeper with the people who want our expertise and kind of do it more collaboratively. But that takes more time and different forums.
Yeah. I think this is a kind of a perfect segue into, I can only speak for myself. One of the reasons that I want to speak about the perimenopause and menopause with women is, one, it's kind of being talked about a lot, which I want to kind of ask you both, why is it part of the zeitgeist right now? Why is it so popular? But two, as a postmenopausal woman like the two of you, I was ready to just say, I'm at this point in my life where I'm ready to shift, where I'm ready to expand my knowledge, figure out a way of taking all the clinical acumen that I have accumulated over this time and share it in new and different ways. And I'm wondering, before we talk about the retreat, I just want to kind of go back to telemedicine and Instagram. Do you ladies think that these new modalities of sharing information are good for women's health, not good for women's health? Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's a little of both.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was showing my brother the other day something I got on my Facebook page I thought was funny. And he said, well, what's the source?
Mm.
And I was like, huh. And I looked all over trying to find what the source of that information was, and I could not find it. And I think that therein lies some of the problems. I think the opportunities are great to get information out, to establish a community, to talk about things that are happening and to normalize those things with others. And yet, as a source of information, I think it is fraught because we are unsure where that information is coming from. And it is not always easy to find nor clear where or what it is. And so I think I agree with you. It is both. I think as a social, as its name implies, social media as a social tool, I think it has great promise and it has great potential as we have seen over the course of these last many years. But I think as a source of validated information, it is much less clear that that it's helpful in that way, and it may indeed be harmful.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, Laura, I'd like you to just address, like, why is everyone talking about the menopause now? I mean, it
Yeah.
was
Well,
silent for so
I'd also
long.
like to agree with both of you, the double-edged sword of how
Yeah.
much information is available, which is a great, socialization of information. We in medicine used to be the gatekeepers, right? You
Mm-hmm.
could learn anything or understand anything unless your esteemed clinical team could explain it to you. Is very patriarchal. And we very much hoarded that material without, I'm just thinking historically. So it is a great equalizer. And also, I think all of us in our office settings, spend a lot of time dispelling myths and misinformation and intentional disinformation. And also, Instagram is a business to sell your stuff. So there's I consider buying like supplements or something that isn't valuable a harm, because then you're not spending money on the things that you could. So wasting money buying stuff that people sell on Instagram that is supposed to be good for your health, we can't really underestimate how potentially negative that is on people. So I I have to, yeah, it is a double-edged sword. And I think with the guardrails coming off a lot of the social media platforms, it's going to be a scarier place to get health information. And I think all of us have realized it's passive, right? It's just coming at you, and your framing, your grounding, your where you fit in whatever passive information you're getting is lost. And so without the interaction to ask questions and say, well, does that apply to me? And does this work? Does this make sense for where I am and what I want and what my needs are? And so that too is a flood of information without context, and the ability to interact is more dangerous than good sometimes. Anyway, why is menopause so big right now? Well, I applaud a lot of the people in Hollywood who decided it was time to talk about sort of the ageism. I think that's kind of what made it pop, was a response to ageism in certain industries, and some brave women saying that the ageism and menopause are kind of linked.
It's the new coming of age.
Yeah, you're like hitting
phenomenon.
stride. Your kids, if you have children, they're kind of getting a little less intense. And so in your mid 40s and 50s, you're hitting your stride. And yet many of the industries are sort of saying, well, no, now that you're menopausal, you're kind of over the hill. So I think there was that was a big initial push, and thank goodness. And then I think, yeah, so many more women are in positions of leadership. And so there's a lot more courage and confidence to talk about health stuff in midlife without embarrassment. And we can't forget that the wellness industry is, in the billions. And so there's actually lots of a synergy of forces that have brought menopause to our zeitgeist. I love that word, Amy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also-
And we're living longer, so we're
Yes.
spending a lot more time in this, if you will, stage of our lives. I think that's part of the incentive too. Yeah.
I think tying the two questions together, though, thinking about social media, that also probably played a role in people saying, like, thinking that, oh my gosh, this is just happening to me and it's so embarrassing and I'm not going to talk about it. Sort of social media gave a platform in which people could discuss what they were feeling, what they were thinking, how their lives were changing. And in some ways that normalized the whole situation. And so people felt emboldened to discuss it more publicly and to try and demand attention to these issues, which have been so summarily ignored over the course of these last millennia.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is a great time to start talking about our retreat. So again, the art of pausing, March 28th through 30th at Mama Farm in Bellport, Brookhaven, Long Island. So we've done this before. We've done the retreat before, and I can only share my perspective. I so enjoyed it for a variety of reasons. Let's just talk about, if you will, the logistics. Rachel, can you remind people of kind of how it works? People come on Friday, leave on Sunday, just the logistics of the retreat, and then we're going to get to the grittier stuff.
Sure. So yes, it's a Friday evening to Sunday afternoon retreat. It is at Mama Farm, and there are opportunities to stay at the farm itself or to stay nearby. It is the last time it was we had amazing farm to table meals that we shared all together. And we had introductions when everyone first arrived, and sort of told our own stories. And then the following days discussed all different aspects of menopause and the physiology of it, what it means, how it happens, why it happens, and what to do about it. And we also tried to incorporate wellness into all of that by doing breath work and meditation. We had opportunities for acupuncture and massage. So trying to take care of the whole person, and not just the knowledge and not just what's happening or the medications or the treatments, but also how to handle just how to be with yourself in a more healthy way. So
Yeah. Laura, can we talk about some of the subject matters, kind of introduce some of the, if you will, the science that we talk about? Because I prefaced our conversation about the retreat about telemedicine, where people get information. And one of the things I think the three of us feel so proud of is that the weekend is not just about self-care, which we're so pleased to offer, but it's about really giving up-to-date science on the experience of the perimenopause and menopause. And even, if you will, going further by talking about how to stay well in our 30s into our 40s so that the experience of the peri and postmenopause are healthier and more informed. So I love that the three of us who are scientists come to this retreat and provide information that is scientifically based, as accurate as it can be, understanding that the science around women's bodies is limited, but also with, I like that we are compassionate about it because we are three women who have experienced it, the postmenopause in a variety of ways, and also worked through it. And that gives us experience. So can you talk a little bit, Laura, about what do we talk about? What are some of the
Yeah.
things? Yeah,
Well, I wanted to add, why is menopause popping right now? And
please.
one more layer to that, I think, is that there has been over the last few years some really robust new research, and so more evidence, which has been, this dearth of research around women's bodies, the menopause, bone health, cardiac health, all of this stuff has been way behind or just focused on the male physiology, which isn't accurate for females. So a whole bunch of new evidence to help us guide women through this midlife transition. And so at our retreat, we kind of want to have that foundation of where's the state of science now, because it's really new. Like, there's a lot of change in what we know and how we can recommend different supports, interventions, lifestyle changes, and any and all of those kind of scaffolding to help women through this midlife transition. So we kind of have some of our sessions that are sort of starting with what's the state of the scientific knowledge to date, and then use that as a springboard for stories. So let me just give one example on bone health. And many of us have had friends who were like, how am I 60 and I have osteoporosis? And now it's too late for me to do some of the preventive measures. And now I have these much more scary choices. And like, what happened over the last 10 years that I didn't know about this, even though I am well educated and I have access to healthcare? So we then all can talk about sort of the more storytelling on how that information didn't get to us, or we didn't understand it, or we were too busy to pay attention to it, or it's new research to say, well, now here's something that you can really feel confident is, the benefits are worth the side effects or something. So like a foundation of where the state of science, and then a lot of interactive storytelling to make that science kind of like make sense to you. And also based on each of us, the three of us physicians, sort of having the most access to everything and still struggling through some of these really important kind of core prevention and also feeling good, like in our bodies over time. So that's what I think was really special. And, there's information to get everywhere, but when people tell their stories, you learn a lot in
It
different
so
ways.
resonates, right? Yeah, it's what we remember for so many of us. When I think about stories I heard as a child that I remember like almost word for word, but do I remember, I don't know, details of numbers or places? No, not necessarily. So what I also loved about all the storytelling was these stories are robust and rich in both the positives and the negatives. And, we're not having this retreat to just glorify the peri and postmenopause. There are absolute, if you will, benefits to it. But there's also a certain amount of rigor around how to take care of yourself. There's a certain amount of news that's not so good, and that's certainly scary. So when the three of us gather and we're able to, one, provide slightly different perspectives about things, but also talk about our own fears and our own challenges and what medicines we can or cannot take, or what exercises we can or cannot do based on our own physiology and anatomy. This just reminds the women at the retreat that, we're all trying to figure it out, as you said, and that we're trying to make the best choices we can here and now. And those choices may change over time. But the more information we have, the more universal this information is, the greater the access. Hopefully, what we're trying to do is promote well-being, promote health, promote understanding about this experience in our lives. Yeah.
I think also the intimate environment in which we gather allows people to have a very personal experience and yet gain knowledge from not just the three physicians, but from each other, and from being in a place where all of this is permissible and nothing's off the table in terms of what to talk about. And I think, in our quick visits that we have, that we're allowed to have, as we have a waiting room full of people, we don't have the opportunity to explore these things as much as we would want to, and I think as much as people need, because this is a tricky time, and we devote a lot of attention to puberty, and that's also a tremendous transition. There's a lot of talk and issue and conversation around that stage of life, and we have somewhat ignored the transition on the other side of that. And I think it's really critical for people to be able to talk about what that means and their fears and their hopes and what is good and what is bad. And I think that this retreat allows people that opportunity to explore how they're feeling and to get some feedback from others about what they're going through and how they are also feeling.
Yeah, I'd like to I'm visualizing as you're talking, Rachel, and thinking, also in the exam room, the power differential and the environment is so,
Yeah.
I don't want to say not conducive, but even hostile towards being super vulnerable. And so I think no matter how chill I think I might be when I'm in the office, to reduce that energy, you just can't, because of the way it's all built and the gowns and it's not just the time, it's the space. So being at meals and yoga classes and walks to talk through that, it really flattened the hierarchy. So I think that was really special too. And I think for personally on both sides, like for me to be more peer-to-peer with one of the menopause participants rather than in the sterile office setting just changes everything.
Yeah, there was an authenticity that just was pervasive throughout the weekend, where we were all just allowing each other to be vulnerable, building community. And it happened really rather quickly. Like Friday night, there was a shift in a group of strangers, transitioning to something more familiar. And that's quite a unique phenomenon, particularly in today's world where there's so much divisiveness, where there's so much otherizing. And so to be able to be at Mama Farm, which, by the way, is an extraordinarily beautiful setting, close to Bellport Village, which is a historic village on Long Island with a lot to offer, beautiful wild beaches nearby, nature preserves, that you're in Mother Nature in the best of ways. In March, we're certainly going to be seeing a shift in the seasons, and that will be interesting. And there's a coziness to the setting that just allows, in a way, begs us to be sharing with each other. Now, I want to say that there were individuals who attended the retreat who were much quieter and who didn't, open up about all their personal stories. And that's okay too. That just by listening, by being in the kind of the energy of the room, I think was so healing for all of us. Yeah. Yeah. So we talk about physiology, we talk about the phenomenon of medical conditions, chronic medical conditions like cancer and cardiac disease and bone density issues and ways of preventing it. We talk about sex. We talk about products that might assist you during sexual changes as we age. We talk about emotions. We talk about the psychology, if you will, of, okay, what does it mean to be an aging woman in today's world, in our microcosm of family and work environments, etc. And so it can. I think it was just a really rich weekend that I'm pretty sure we're going to reiterate. So I welcome everyone. I'm going to, just while I'm at it, I want to let you know that you go to www.mamafarm.us/farm events, or on Instagram, it's at Mama Farm. That you type in Mama Farm, you're going to find information about how to learn about our retreat and access just Mama Farm onto itself.
And that's MAMA, right, Amy?
Yes, MAMA Farm.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you ladies think that we need to share about the retreat, about each other, that you want to mention?
I think that we've done this once before, and I'm really looking forward to this next time to see sort of the similarities and the differences. But obviously, each group that gets together brings their own energy to the space. And so it's exciting to think about some of the new things we're going to explore, or topics or emotions. And I know from last time, I learned so much from both of you, but also from the participants about how they are handling issues that I have too, and that it was a really safe and comfortable space in which to share those sorts of things. And it was a two-way street, which I think was really special, and I think brought us all a lot closer together.
And we laughed a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, particularly during the sex stuff, there was a lot of fun to be had.
Yes.
Even with, all sorts of kvetching about different things. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'd like to add that one of the more, unique things about having 3 doctors who are all, gynecologists for 25 years. Like, why do we need 3 instead of just 1 or 2? Or it, I think even the people participating were like, well, that's kind of a lot. And then even before we started, one of the more sort of, just special approaches is that the 3 of us have very different lenses through which we look at even medicine, traditional versus alternative, and Western versus Eastern, and also what we have pulled in for our own journey has been really different. And so that message to people trying to learn about their own journey is like, wow, there isn't one way to do this. Look at these 3 doctors who are gynecologists and specialists in reproductive medicine, and they each had really different experiences and really different tools to sort of help them through different pieces of this, and have really almost different philosophies and styles about some of these aspects of menopause and the perimenopause, and sort of looking ahead at how to keep yourself healthy and keep your body and mind, connected and thriving. So that is a unique part of medicine in menopause, is like one size does not fit all, which I think is why so many women are so confused. They're like, wait. One person said this, one said that, my friend's doing this, my gynecologist said that. And that's a lot of chaos for anyone to, work through. So the fact that the 3 of us had such different, and sometimes banter about, well, that's not what I don't do that. I don't think that works.
No, not arguments, discussions.
Debates, healthy debates.
Lively.
Yes. And I think that made the 3 of us a unique trio, since we didn't just really echo each other. It was like, that didn't work for me. So this did, or,
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, that was pretty special. And
Yeah.
again, I learned so much from each of you, and my myopia. Like I every time I'm in spaces with either of you, it's just yet another stretch and learning.
Yeah. I think that's also why we incorporate through the weekend massage and potentially acupuncture this year, but certainly breath work. I just want to make sure we mention Elettra Wiedemann. She is kind of responsible for all things programming at Mama Farm, including classes and workshops for all ages, as well as retreats. But her contribution goes further, at the Art of Pausing weekend, in that she shares her expertise in breath work. And I have to tell you, I had never done breath work before. I have done meditation. I have had a variety of different journeys that have been very deep and expansive, but I'd never done breath work. But I know Laura had done breath work before and asked Elettra to contribute to the weekend. Can you share with the audience kind of about breath work? And all I can say is it was profound, really profound. Yeah.
Yeah. When I met Elettra, that was one of the things we talked about really quickly. We moved into that topic, and she really introduced me to certain teachers and techniques, and then sort of described how she had really, over the years, honed her own approach for herself, and had started to share it with others, mostly at the farm. And yeah, she's a pretty special person. And then being under her during a breathwork journey, I would use the same word, Amy, and say profound. And, some of the people who are really experienced in, it's an active meditation for those who find sitting still difficult because, the monkey mind, we are busy minds. And in today's world, it's very hard to quiet the mind. So an active meditation, like a breath work, is so much more accessible, at least again, personally, than the sitting meditation practice. I like yoga. I like a moving, active meditation. So, but the breath work is like, it brings you into a place that you just didn't think you could get without some substance. So
Yeah.
I think it was, I think the other participants were pretty moved as well, how it is such a way to get out of your head, and your emotional life really becomes accessible to you. So it's fantastic. And we did also have yoga last time, so it'll sort of balancing people who like yoga, some people hate yoga, but everyone opted into the breath work, and the three of us were like, wait, we want to join too. And all just were like, wow, that was different.
For
Yeah.
people who've never done it before, and I hadn't done it either, it's hard to imagine that just breathing in a certain way can totally change your mentation and your emotion and what kind of things it brings up. But it is quite amazing with just a short amount of time and being led through the technique of breathing, how that can change how you feel and how you think things through it. And it sounds kind of, for those who've never done it, it sounds not quite feasible, but it is something really to explore at least once. And so I'm looking forward to doing it again, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So, I raise it. I wanted to mention Elettra, one, because she's such a remarkable teacher, but two, just to point out again that the Art of Pausing, our retreat on March 28th through 30th at Mama Farm, is about exploring a lot of different ways of kind of being in the body, thinking about how we're experiencing emotionally these transitions in our lives, taking home a toolbox that allows you to have access to information and ways of thinking about this. And again, I don't know, my toolbox often changes. When 1 month I might be doing this vitamin or that supplement, and the next month I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really work for me. So again, kind of bringing back what Laura said, we bring these three perspectives, and it can be confusing, like which way do I go to treat myself? I don't think there's only one way. And whether breath work becomes your most important tool, whether hormone replacement therapy becomes your most important tool, whether you decide you're going to use black cohosh or dong quai, or whether you're going to, throw it all up in the air and every month it's going to be something different. I don't pretend to know there's only one way. In fact, I know there's not one way, that the journey is about figuring out what works for us as individuals. And interestingly, as a collective at the retreat, we begin to really better understand what we need as an individual. So it's, again, I think it can be a really powerful alternative way of learning about this experience, apart from Instagram and Facebook and even our doctor's office. Yeah.
And the food is delicious and the company is wonderful. So
Oh my gosh, the food was amazing.
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 Like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave that place.
wanted to bring them home with me. I was like, are you busy? What are you doing these next 10 years?
So
I think-
Rachel, go ahead. Go
Can I
ahead.
add one more thing?
Absolutely.
The other thing we all learned, I think, and some of the participants, is how we walk into these conversations with a lot of bias that we're not really aware of. And the bias against hormones or against, supplements that don't have enough research, like you shouldn't do that if there's not strong research, or anything made in a pharma lab is evil. Like all of these biases that we get really, attached to and ingrained into patterned thinking. And we don't think we have those biases until we're really in a safe space to unpack them and, stretch. So certainly I have my own, we all do. And letting those soften in order to be open to new concepts, ideas, tools, medications, concrete or abstract, that really are kind of healing and powerful ways to kind of stay connected to our bodies as we age. I think that reducing that, the three of us having our own biases and other people seeing that, and then having those kind of melt over the weekend, let a lot of openness without being too much, like, still like guardrails and guidance, but really powerful.
Yeah. I think our intention is multifold, but one of which is to reduce fear.
Mm-hmm.
To reduce fear around these transitions, because, for so long, not only fear, but shame around the aging female body. And we hope to help diminish that or shift that during the course of the weekend for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Again, I'm going to remind everyone, please go to Mama Farm and look up the retreats that they hold. They're amazing. March 28th through 30th, the three of us will be at the Art of Pausing. And we just welcome everyone there. If you have any questions or concerns, you can write to me at gynocurious@gmail.com, and I can always share this with Laura and Rachel. So please don't hesitate. Rachel and Laura, thank you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, as always.
Thanks, Amy.
And thank you to Jen Hammoud and Maddie Rosenberg, my co-producers. Until the next episode of Gynocurious, please stay well. Listen to your instincts and intuitions. They are the greatest of teachers, not to be ignored. Be well.